Clocknockers 2 is the latest game from Arcor or Archer, right? A developer who publishes under the name Archer or Arcor Games. I gotta be honest, I try my best to be precise with the pronunciation of different developers and publishers and the people who make these games and the people who put these games out, but every now and then I run into something that I can't quite verify the pronunciation of, so please forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but this is a dev who has put out 14 games in the last 7 months. Clocknockers 2 is of course a sequel to Clocknockers, which released in November of 2021, and some of the other games that were put out around this time include Archstone versus the Zombie Specters, and The Search for Mr. Fimple. Now I need to be completely transparent and honest here. Clocknockers 2 is not what I would call a good game. However, the game currently only costs 69 cents.
Nice.
Now that is a sale price, but the game is usually only 99 cents, and that's really not that much to pay for a game, even if it's not a very good game. So I'd be remiss if I didn't take that into account while discussing my experiences with Clocknockers 2. Again, the sequel to Clocknockers. I went into Clocknockers not really knowing anything about it. I saw a few screenshots and saw the title Clocknockers, and I have to be honest, where my sick mind went to was I thought this was a game where maybe you went around punching people. I thought you were, cleaning clocks or knocking someone's clock off, which doesn't make sense now that I say it out loud. You would say, I'm going to knock your block off, not knock your clock off, but you could clock someone, I just saw Clockknocker, and I thought it was maybe a game about, assaulting people with your fists. However, I couldn't have been more wrong. There is no punching in this game at all, although if I could make a suggestion to the dev, I do think punching could be a very fun addition to this game. You see, what is going on in Clocknockers 2 is that bad dudes have stopped time all over the world, and you, the player character, are the last person left who is not frozen in time. And so what you're tasked with doing is walking around an area and pushing all of the frozen people into a portal. Now, I don't know exactly where this portal leads to, but I'm assuming you're sending these people into some sort of safe haven where they will become unfrozen in time and presumably live the rest of their lives out, unafflicted by the bad deeds of these bad dudes. It's basically a physics game. You walk around and you push people toward a goal. Now, the reason I really would say this is not a very good game is because I found it to be extremely tedious. I quickly discovered that the easiest way to push people into the goal was, to figure out a series of straight lines. I push someone in one direction, stop them, push them again, in the next direction, and in maybe, 4 or 5 moves, I had them at the goal. What would really add a element of, challenge or more fun to this game would be if the jump mechanic would allow you to somehow push the frozen people over certain barriers, or if you could, push them upward and maybe you had to, catch them before they flew too high into the sky or something. I do see how, if you're just propelling these people ever forward and there's no friction in the air and no obstacles to stop them, it could present some issues there, but I think it could be worked around in different ways. Maybe there's some sort of awning or covering that stops their ascent into the sky, but essentially, you can run around You can jump, but the jump doesn't really do anything. Like, you can jump over these waist-high walls, but the people you're pushing around are pretty much on a pretty straight trajectory. They can be knocked around at angles, but they don't really deviate, going up or down in space. Which was frustrating because it basically meant if, the only real difficulty here presented to the player is, how far a NPC has been planted from the goal. If they've been planted further from the goal, that just means you have more moves you have to make in order to get them to the goal, and thus, a larger margin of error you could encounter while getting them to that goal. It doesn't necessarily mean it's harder, it just means that you have more, opportunities to fuck up. And while I did kind of enjoy the sort of, mindless tedium of pushing these characters around, and it wasn't, the worst game I've ever played. I don't want to sound like I'm just, completely shitting on it. I do think there is some interesting ideas here in this game. The idea of time being frozen and you need to somehow, safely move these people from point A to point B. There's definitely something there. It's an interesting idea. But beyond not being, totally taken with the gameplay itself, the game was just poorly optimized, it felt. I was constantly getting all sorts of glitches and stutters and crashes. Even running the game at its lowest possible settings, the visuals were still pretty messy for me. And it does kind of seem like, well, in the month of February 2022 alone, this dev released 4 games. I don't want to use the term shovelware, but I get the impression that it's a bit of quantity over quality, and I can't really knock someone's hustle. If you want to try to put out a bunch of games, see what sticks, go for it. You could have an unexpected viral hit with a quirky idea, but I think that Clocknockers probably isn't the golden ticket idea. That said, for 69 cents, could I recommend Clocknockers? No, not entirely, but I didn't have to pay for Clocknockers. I received a review copy here through the Hidden Machine channel, for which I'm grateful. I do like to check things out and try new experiences, but I can't really endorse Clocknockers 2. However, that said, I do think that, there's something to be said for trying an idea, putting it out there, and then moving on to the next one, and just getting better every time. Now, I don't know if these games have gotten better every time. I haven't played all 14 of the games from this developer-publisher, but I do think there are some interesting ideas here, and even just scrolling through their Steam page, I'm intrigued by some of the other titles they have for sale. So while I can't wholeheartedly endorse Clocknockers 2, I could barely make it through the first level, although I did, to do my supposed due diligence as a reviewer, I did complete the first level. I put 10 people into the goal, into the portal, and then when I got to the second level, well, I discovered that I pushed someone into a body of water and could no longer reach them. At which point I said, ugh, fuck this, and I quit. I did almost quit earlier than this because after I had gotten about half of the people into the portal, into the goal there, I clicked in the right control stick only to discover that clicking in the right control stick resets your progress, and clicking in the left control stick seems to spawn you at a certain point in the map that's different from where you initially spawned at the start of the map. So I was frustrated that I didn't realize there was a kill button built into the control scheme, but live and learn. Personally, I didn't love Clocknockers, but hey, maybe you will. And I am going to keep an eye on this dev and see what else comes from them, because again, I'm very intrigued by the idea of just putting out a bunch of stuff. I feel like there's gotta be some good ideas there, and maybe, one of those ideas is something worth capitalizing on and building on and expanding on, or maybe they already have a killer game out there. That 14 titles in 7 months is quite a lot of work. I'm assuming this is a solo dev, but I haven't really checked all the credits yet, but we'll see. For now, this has been a quick sort of first impressions review, first look at the game, Clocknockers 2. We have plenty of videos of us discussing all sorts of games, both in depth and casually. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's just plain offensive. If you'd like more, please check out Hidden Machine here on YouTube. We're on TikTok and Instagram as well if you'd like the content in more bite-sized morsels. And until next time, I'll see ya!